My flashlight jittered across the pasture. Bells chimed ahead, soft, close, then answered behind me, then to my left, like the herd had learned how to surround without walking. The air smelled of wet earth and hay, but underneath it was something metallic and wrong. I shouldn't have been out here. Lowell had said it twice the day he hired me. After sundown, you don't check the fields. Ever. But the bells were moving, and I'd convinced myself that meant a broken gate, a coyote, a calf down in a ditch, something I could fix with a flashlight and pride. The beam caught a line of backs in the grass, dark shapes, shoulder to shoulder, perfectly still. No chewing, no shifting. Just cattle facing inward like they were watching something I couldn't see. I started counting anyway. 1, 2, the bells stopped. Silence pressed in, heavy as a hand on my throat. Something in the center of the circle moved. A calm voice spoke right behind me. Don't. I spun. Lantern glow floated at the fence line. Lowell stood there like he'd been waiting, his face tired, his eyes unreadable. Get back inside, he said. What's in the middle? I asked. Lowell didn't answer. He only nodded toward the bunkhouse. Before they finish. I backed up, never taking my light off the circle. When I reached the fence, Lowell turned and walked. Behind us, the bells started again, slow, patient, satisfied. I took the ranch job because I was broke and out of excuses. The ad promised triple pay and a bunkhouse. It also had one rule in bold. Don't check the fields after sundown. Lowell hired me over the phone like he was ordering feed. You follow it, you get paid. You don't, you won't be here long. Inside the bunkhouse, a list was taped to the fridge. Morning count is law. Do not count after dark. If you hear bells at night, stay inside. If you see lights in the field, close the curtains. 3 other hands lived there, Vince, Ray, and a kid named Mason. They were polite the way people are at funerals. When I joked about the rule, Mason went pale. Vince said, "The herd stays balanced," and wouldn't explain. First morning, Lowell led us along the fence with clipboards. The cattle clustered near the trough line, steam rising from their nostrils. Don't rush, Lowell said. Do it right. I counted. 112. Lowell wrote it on the barn board like it was scripture. Work became routine, feed, water, fence repair, until the details started to slip. A cow with a white blaze was gone the next day, replaced by a brown-faced twin. A limp appeared, vanished, then showed up on another animal. The number stayed perfect. The number's what matters, Vince told me, voice tight. You focus on the number. On day 4, I found something by the east fence. A black plastic badge clip half buried in mud. Not a cattle tag. A staff badge. Ranch staff. Under it, a name. Evan R. I brought it to Lowell. He stared at it a long moment, then slid it into a drawer like he didn't want the air touching it. Who's Evan? I asked. Lowell's eyes stayed on mine. Evan broke the rule, he said. And? He got counted. That night, the bells started at dusk. The dogs whined, then went dead silent. The porch light flickered. Vince shut the curtains without a word. At 2:17 a.m., polite knocks came. Mason whispered, Don't answer. Then my own voice said my name through the door, soft, coaxing. Come count with us. The handle turned slowly. The latch held. The voice chuckled like it had all the time in the world. Morning count, 112. But in daylight, I saw 5-finger handprints smeared in mud across a cow's ribs. Vince glanced at it and muttered, "Replacement." "Replacement for what?" I asked. He swallowed. "Depends what got taken." By day 6, Evan's badge and Lowell's words, "got counted," had eaten through my common sense. When Lowell went out to check fence posts, I broke the other rule and climbed into the office trailer through a window. The trailer smelled like dust and old coffee. On the desk sat a ledger book. Names filled the pages. Start dates, notes, endings. Quit, left town, broke rule, returned. I found Evan R. Broke rule, returned. Then my stomach dropped. Eli M. Start, this week, returned. Not if, like it was already done. A bell chimed outside, close. The door handle moved gently. A pale face pressed to the window and mouthed one word. Count. I scrambled out and ran. Lowell was by the barn when I reached him, shaking. "You went in," he said, not surprised. "You wrote my name," I gasped. "Returned." Lowell looked past me toward the pasture. A line of cattle had lifted their heads in perfect unison, watching. "You haven't been taken yet because you haven't been counted," Lowell said softly. "Counted by who?" He nodded toward the herd. "By them." His voice dropped. "Tonight, you stay inside. You hear your name, you ignore it." "What happens if I don't?" Lowell's eyes held mine. "You become part of the number." That night, I couldn't wait for the counting to come to me. The bells began at dusk. Mason sat rigid at the table, eyes hollow. "Please," he whispered, "don't." "How long you been here?" I asked. 2 weeks, he said. The road doesn't go the same after dark. When the knocks came and my own voice whispered from the porch, something in me snapped. I grabbed the rifle and stepped out. Cold air smelled of mud and rotten sweet grass. Bells chimed in a slow pattern, pulling me across the yard and over the fence. The herd stood in a circle again, tighter than before, bells ringing in synchronized beats like a heartbeat. In the center, something knelt in the grass. It lifted its head. A man's face, half-formed, attached to a body that bent wrong at the joints. Arms too long, fingers fused like wet clay. A torn flannel sleeve clung to one arm. It looked up at me with pleading eyes. "Don't let them finish," it rasped. "Evan?" I whispered. It nodded, choking on the motion. "They count until you match," it said. "Until you fit the number." Lantern light approached. Lowell stepped into view at the circle's edge like he'd been waiting. "You broke the rule," he said. "You knew," I spat. "You wrote it down." "It's not personal," Lowell said. "It's maintenance." Evan sobbed. "Help me." Lowell's face didn't change. Evan's already returned. The circle tightened, cattle stepping inward together. Evan cried out. Lowell turned the lantern toward me. "You have a choice. Walk back inside and pretend, or finish what's left of Evan and keep the balance." I stared at the rifle. My hands shook. Then a cow near me turned its head. On its ear hung a black tag. Ranch staff. Under it, printed small, Eli M. My breath caught. The cow blinked slowly, patient as sunrise. Lowell's voice was gentle. "They've started. You decide how it ends." The cattle shifted, closing. Bells screamed, eager now. Evan's mouth formed. Run. I ran. Mud grabbed at my boots, breathing, wet. Too many mouths followed close behind. I vaulted the fence, tore my palm on barbed wire, and hit the yard hard. Mason stood in the doorway, white-faced. Go! I sprinted to my truck, yanked the keys from the hook, and jammed them into the ignition. The engine roared like it was scared too. Headlights swept the yard and caught shapes, faces not quite cow, not quite human. I slammed into drive and tore down the dirt road. The ranch vanished behind me, but the bells didn't. They stayed faintly in my skull. The road twisted through hills, then ended, dissolving into grass. Bells chimed from beyond my headlights. My voice whispered from the empty passenger seat. You can't leave until you're counted. I screamed and drove off-road until gravel appeared. Another road, real this time. I hit it and didn't slow down until the sky began to pale. At dawn, the bells finally stopped. The silence felt like a verdict. I never went back. I didn't call the cops. What do you say? Cows tried to count me? I took a bus to a city. I got a warehouse job. I lived inside concrete and streetlights and told myself fields were just fields. Then the reminders started. An email with no sender. Morning count reminder. A voicemail of faint chiming. A rotten sweet smell in the grocery store that made my eyes water. One night, scrolling job listings, I saw the ad again. Ranch hand needed. One rule: do not check the fields after sundown. At the bottom was the contact name. Eli M., hiring manager. My number, my email, as if I'd posted it. Outside my apartment window down the street, a bell chimed once, soft and polite. Another answered it. Closer. I backed away from the glass, and in my reflection my eyes looked too steady, too dark, and I could swear I saw a black tag hanging from my ear. Ranch staff. Because the herd always stays balanced. And once you've been counted, you don't get to leave. If you made it this far, you already know the worst part. It isn't the rule, it isn't the bells. It's the idea that somewhere out there, in a field you'll never see on a map, something is keeping a count. And it doesn't care who you are, only that the number stays the same. So let me ask you, if you took that job and you heard those bells after sundown, would you stay inside? Or would you step into the dark and see what was waiting in the middle? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every one, and I want to know what you would have done. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button. It helps the video reach more late-night listeners. Subscribe to Campfire Horror Stories for more long-form horror set in remote jobs, strange rules, and places where the night doesn't follow normal laws. And turn on notifications, because the next story is already waiting. Until next time, lock your doors, trust the rule, and whatever you do, don't count after dark.